This is question 5 from the Leaving Cert Higher Level Paper 1 from 2020. Up the top right of the screen you'll find a card that'll bring you to my solutions for all the questions in this paper. And below the video you'll find a link to an image of this question so you can try it before looking at my solution. Now this is a little more important than normal because you are going to need to be able to read this question out with me when I'm doing the solution. There's a lot of reading and I'm going to be reading through it a lot. Maybe if you are watching this on a phone or something, maybe write it out on a separate piece of paper before watching the video. Or if you're on a computer, put it up on a side of the screen. Or maybe you could have paused that previous part where it was in front of the screen and just write it out from there. Either way, this video should be quite short when we take away that difficulty of reading the question. But I'm going to show you how I would do this in an exam, and it is important to reading in that sense. So I'm going to read through it now and take out the important numbers. So a couple agreed to take out a $250,000 mortgage in order to purchase a new home. Now the important number there is clearly at $250,000. The fact that they're buying a home or a house or a boat doesn't really matter to me. That's not going to be important to the maths. The next line, the loan is paid back monthly over 25 years. That's important there. They told us 25 years, but they also are telling us monthly, and they continue with repayments due at the end of each month. So again, 25 years might be important, but actually, since they're talking about months a lot, 25 years is equal to 300 months. So we might use the 300, we will in this question, rather than the 25 years. So that's important to notice things like that. What's the next part? The bank charges an annual percentage rate, so maybe we will use the years, which is equivalent to a monthly rate of 0.287%. So again, this is a monthly rate. So I think we are going to be using this with the months. The 25 is not going to come into the question at all. Another thing important to note, lots of students will have got this wrong and their answer will be wildly impractical before this mistake. Percentage. We need to change this into a decimal place, and that means we need to divide it by 100. It looks like this. This is the number of this percent. Percent is just something we use in everyday life, but it's not a real number. This is the number that compares to that. You need to divide by 100. Otherwise, you'll end up paying off millions to this 250,000 house. Okay, using the amortization formula, I hope I got that word right, or otherwise, find the couple's monthly repayments on the mortgage. Now, I wrote out the formula. It's in your formulas book. It's under economics or something. You should be using it when you were studying for the exam, so you should be partially familiar with it, and it's right here. Now, in the book, they do say A stands for the annual payments, where we're looking for monthly payments. But we can just change this. In fact, just change the A to an M. That's fine. The P is the principal, the starting amount. That doesn't change. I, in the book, they tell us that's the interest rate every year. Well, let's just change it to the interest rate every month, which we have. That's fine. T is the number of years. Again, let's just change that to the number of months. And this formula works fine for us. So the first part of this question is very short. They just want us to know what M is. What's the monthly repayment? And they tell us all these other numbers. So M is equal to P is 250,000. I is, let's put in lots of brackets because we'll be doing this in a calculator. I is 0.00287. Multiply that then by 1 plus I. 1 plus this, so that's 1.00287, and that's to the power of t. That's how many months there are. Again, if you put in how many years here, your answer will be wildly off, and hopefully you should notice that at the end. Let's divide this then by, again, 1.00287 to the power of 300 again, and minus 1, and all of this should be in one big bracket. It's simply, now you put it into the calculator. I do want to insist, be careful, be very careful, do it multiple times. But if you put it into the calculator correctly, I'll just check my notes, is 1,244.06. Try and get a gauge of when you get a sensible answer. Is €1,000 a month to pay off a mortgage sensible? Yeah, looks reasonable. If you were to get a number here that's tens of thousands, you're mildly off. You're wildly off. If you were to get a number that's in low hundreds, you're wildly off again. You could multiply this by 300 to see how much the total term of how much total you will pay off, and I think it's about 350,000. Again, sounds reasonable. It's more than what you got. You'd expect that. The bank needs to make money. If it was less than this number, you'd know you're definitely wrong. Yeah, so that's the answer to part A. Let me rub this off. I'll leave these formulas because we're going to use these. Actually, we won't use the first one again. We'll use the second one here. I'll rub this off and we'll do part B. Now in part B, there is a little more maths, but really it's, again, a lot of reading. So hopefully you have the question in front of you somewhere and I'll read through it. Another couple takes out a mortgage of 350,000. Let me write that number down here. 350,000 at a rate of 0.3%. I'll write that as its number, 0.003 per month, in order to purchase a new home. The loan is also paid back over 25 years. Again, that's 300 a month. Although this number is not going to be important in the question, as it turns out. With repayments due at the end of each month. The amount of each payment is 1,771. Here's a little extra hint for part A. If your answer did not look something like this answer, you knew you were wrong. These people were paying out more of a mortgage and they were paying this much every month. So your answer from the previous part, you now know it should be around I guess what was it, 1,200. So I would have guessed from this number, this amount compared to a similar number, a similar time, nearly half the amount, I'd expect something smaller, around 1,000. So it's a way to gauge whether you're right. Take advantage of those little hints that are in the exams. Okay, so these are important numbers here. Then they continue. They say after exactly 11 years of repayments, the couple receive a financial windfall. They decide to repay the remaining balance of their mortgage. Okay, so that sets it up. They now help you to answer the question because it's quite difficult to figure this out on your own. They tell you to write down a series including the first two and last two terms which show the total present values of the remaining monthly repayments. Sorry, that just reminds me, I'm missing a formula here. I forgot to write down the present value formula, and that's P for present value is equal to F, which is the final value, and then that's divided by 1 plus I to the power of time, to the total repayments. So we're going to need that formula here. So they want us to write down a series with the present value of the monthly repayments. And let's see, over the remaining monthly repayments due over the remaining 14 years of the mortgage. And now they tell us one very important thing. Well, 14 years, let me write that down. 14 years, which is 168 months we're going to be using. They tell us a very important part. They say after the last monthly repayment, I'll try and make that clear in a moment. Actually, here's what I'll do. I'll write down a series. It's not the correct one. It's what's going to happen, what would happen in the future. You would pay off 1,771 in the first month. You'd pay off 1,771 the next month. And this would stay going on. Sorry, yeah, I have a sequence here. Let me put in a plus to make this a series. This would stay going on, and the second last month you'd pay this, and the month after that, the very last month you'd pay this. That's what would happen. But here we are. We're all the way over here. We're just finished paying the last one. We finished paying the last one of the 11 years. There's a month until the next repayment of this one here. This is this is how much this money here, 1,771, I guess will be worth about 1,771. But this one, 14 years into the future, this is worth less than this amount. Think of it this way: if somebody promises you €1,000 20 years from now, how much is that worth to you? Sure, it's worth something. It's nice to have that promise of money coming, but it's not worth 1,000. If I came along and offered you, here, I'll give you €999 now for that future money, you'd of course take it, because you don't want to wait 14 years to get this money. So that's where present value comes in. So these aren't the present value amounts. Here's the formula here. Let me cut this off from the screen. So they simply want us to do the present value on all of these amounts. So I'll just do it underneath. The present value of this amount is the final value, 1771, divided by 1 plus the interest rate in this case. In this case, the interest rate is here, the monthly interest rate. So 1 plus that is 1.003. And then it's to the power of the time. So how far away is this time right here from when we finish paying the last repayment? It's 1 month away. Simply 1 month away. So this is to the power of 1. And if we continue this on, hopefully we'll see the pattern. The next one is 1771 divided by 1.003. And this is 2 months away. I'll continue this on. It should be quite clear at this point. It's 1.003. And how many months away is this? 168 was the final one. So this will be 167 months away. And I'll write in the last one. Actually, we need to, don't we? That's part of the question was to write these in. The last one would be to the power of 168. This will be full marks, by the way. You don't need to put these in a calculator, each of them. You can if you want. You're not going to lose marks. But this one's actually much more useful than putting them into a calculator. So this is the answer to the first part of the last question. Write down a series. But then they also want us to hence find out how much the couple will need to repay. So right now they're going to pay this lump sum of money to clear all of this off. It would be easy if we just multiplied this number by 168. That's how much they would have paid. But we're not doing that. We're doing this one. We need to find out how much this adds up to. Looks difficult, but we notice that this is just a geometric series. We have a number. It's 1771, and it's been multiplied by something every time. First time it's been multiplied by 1 over 1.003. Next time it's been multiplied by the same number. Again, there's 2 of them now. Then there's 3 of them, 4 of them, 5 of them. There's 167 of them, 168 of them. This is just a geometric sequence. And we have a formula for that. I'll squeeze in the answer here, I think. Save me rubbing anything out. Here's the formula for summing up a geometric series. We just need the first term. First term A is equal to 1771 divided by 1.003. Multiply that by 1 minus OR. What's the OR term? What's multiplying each of these? That's 1 divided by 1.003. And that's OR here. And that's to the power of n, the total number, 168. I would say this number here, some students got this OR wrong. Well, sorry, I'm guessing some students would have got it wrong. They tend to, most years, instead of doing 1 divided by 1.1003, they simply put in 1.003 because that's the common thing happening each time. Now your answer will be wildly off, and hopefully you'll notice that. I assume it'll go into the minus, in fact, in this question. So you'd be paying minus amounts of money, which obviously doesn't make sense. Where are we? And we're on the sum of the series. We put in this top line. Let's close that bracket. And then we just need to divide it by this bottom line. That's 1 minus 1 divided by 1.003. Put that into a calculator extremely carefully. As carefully as you can. Let me clear out a little bit of room here to write the answer. As carefully as you can, and you should get 233,438 and 25 cents. That's how much this couple will have to pay off their mortgage. Now I haven't done the number out, but otherwise they would have, if you just multiply this number here, 1771 multiplied by 168. If they paid off their mortgage normally, they would have ended up paying 300,000 roughly. So now they're paying 230,000 roughly. So they were saving themselves some money. Right, that's it. That's the full answer to that question. Not much maths. Lots of reading, lots of figuring out. But these questions come up very regularly, so get used to them, practice them, and you should be able, it should be a guaranteed full marks in your exam. Don't waste that opportunity. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.